What's up, everyone? Welcome back to Build or Rebuild, where we take NHL and NBA teams that we feel need to build or rebuild in certain areas, and we give our takes of what we think they should do in the offseason. So today, sticking to basketball here, we've got the Los Angeles Lakers.
Yeah, so it's obvious they need to retool.
Yeah.
But whether or not they rebuild is dependent on how you view LeBron and AD. Are they washed, or can they do it again? Were they riddled by injuries, or can them being healthy lead to another championship?
I think it'll be interesting to see when they have more. It's obviously not going to be the typical 4 months you have in the offseason.
Yeah.
Because they really only had under 2 months.
Yep.
Before the season after they won. So I think when you give them somewhat of a normal offseason, which, you know, LeBron has said he's not going to compete for the U.S. in the Olympics this year, which means he will have more time to rest.
Yep.
And I think when you have these guys rested, it'll be interesting. If they have the same injury problems, then I think you look at, well, they're aging and they're not aging well.
Yeah.
But I think they'll bounce back. I don't think that they'll be a play-in type team.
No.
From here on. I don't see a rebuild. It's really hard to say the word rebuild when you have LeBron James on your roster.
Yeah.
So I think it's definitely a retool. I think they need to move on from some guys and bring some guys in. So.
Yes. So the obvious pick in terms of players to trade away is Kyle Kuzma.
Yeah.
And I feel like he's been a whipping boy. But he hasn't hurt the team unless they over-rely on him.
Yeah, which they had to over-rely on him this year, and that's where you saw more of his flaws brought out.
Yes. So does that mean they can keep him if they expand their depth, or do they have to move him?
I think to expand your depth, you have to move him because they only have, as of right now, they don't have a lot of players lined up for next year, and they only have about $7 to $8 million in cap space.
Yeah.
And he accounts for 13 million. So that's a lot you can do if you free up now 20 to 21 million dollars in cap space to work with.
Yeah.
I think they could definitely bring in a lot of interesting guys. And I just think it'd
be a good for a change of scenery, but will you get will it come back to bite you?
No. I think at this point, I think it's best in terms of a business standpoint to the fans are not behind Kuzma, and I think and when the fans aren't behind you, it's going to wear and tear on him mentally.
Yeah.
So I think for both parties, it's best to just move on and give LeBron and AD a new piece to work with.
Yep.
One that they could and one that you can rely on more if, you know, Anthony Davis is injury prone. LeBron James isn't getting any younger.
Yeah.
So I think they need to bring in a reliable, probably an older veteran piece, that is capable and knows what taking a workload like that is like, because Kuzma was never prepared for this.
Yeah. Another guy I like to look at is Schroeder, who I think is going to walk.
Yeah.
But this is another example of a guy who couldn't elevate their game in spite of playing with LeBron and AD.
Yeah.
I feel like there were a lot of guys brought in, but they weren't elevated, which is unusual.
It's the same thing with Marc Gasol.
And Harrell.
And Montrezl Harrell, yeah.
And Drummond. Like, pretty much everybody they brought in.
They took a step back.
Yeah, the only players that were elevated were LeBron and AD. Now, is that because they didn't play a full season and they didn't have that chemistry like the Clippers when they brought in Kawhi and Paul George?
Yeah.
Do you think that's something they can work around?
I think some of the guys they can. I see them trying to find some way to get rid of Marc Gasol, and I think Schroeder walks.
Yeah.
I think, especially after you have arguably the greatest Laker of all time in Magic Johnson say that he doesn't have that Laker mentality. That's almost like just a dagger to the heart there. Like, there is no future for him here.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think why a guy like KCP works so well with them is he's won something with them. He knows what it's like to play an elongated stretch with AD and LeBron, and I think that's what you need. I think there's a lot of guys that if it doesn't work right away, it's probably not going to work down the road as Anthony Davis and LeBron James get older.
Yeah.
So
KCP, Caruso, if they can bring back, I think are guys to keep. But outside of that, I think anybody else can walk or be dealt.
They need new floor spacers.
Yeah.
New guys to create plays for LeBron and AD, even though they're very much capable of creating their own plays. Now, Montrezl Harrell's probably the most interesting name that you brought up because he has a player option.
Yes.
And after the season they had this year, a lot of things went wrong for the Lakers.
Yep.
Especially when everyone was talking back to back. It's going to be them in Brooklyn. I don't know if he comes back.
I would lean towards no.
I think he probably wants a change. I think he may want that ability to start somewhere too, because everyone's viewing him in that 6-man role because he won 6th Man of the Year with the Clippers in 2020. Mm-hmm. I think he may want to look for options where he can start somewhere, maybe with a team that isn't at the spot the Lakers are, not necessarily a rebuilding team, but a team that's a little lower in the playoff contention pool. Like, I'm not saying go to Minnesota.
Yeah.
But I'm saying,
well, he could start at center for the Lakers if they put him there.
I think he just needs to make that clear in negotiations this year that that's something, because I'd be interested to see what he is as a starter. Mm-hmm. So then you don't have to play him extended minutes off the bench. You can get a little more flexible with him at the starting role. And I think that's something worth trying, in my opinion.
Interesting. Yeah, it's tough. He's definitely a starting caliber player on most teams.
Yeah.
But as for the Lakers, yeah, they definitely need to beef up their depth. And yeah, you're right in saying trade Kuzma to do so. Mm-hmm. If they lose Harrell, that's almost $10 million off the books.
Yeah.
So
I think they need a reliable point guard here to replace Schroeder and to upgrade from Schroeder. And this is where names like Kyle Lowry come into play.
Yeah.
This is a guy that when these guys go down, he won a championship with Toronto.
He's a fantastic leader. Another guy I look at is Dinwiddie.
Yeah.
If he can bounce back.
Yeah. And I think Dinwiddie just fits that LA lifestyle as well.
Yeah.
He loves to self-market himself. He was the guy that was trying to turn all his salary into Bitcoin. He was trying to publicly share his contract.
Yeah.
Like, it's that kind of stuff where I'm like, he fits what LA is about.
Yep.
And it just makes that transition a whole lot easier, which means he has more time to focus on the floor in that case, because he doesn't have to adjust to it, because some guys just can't adjust to big markets like that.
Yeah.
And especially coming from Brooklyn, that's not a small market either. So I think that's because he's a little younger than a guy
Kyle Lowry.
Like Kyle Lowry, that's the type of guy who I think would work well with LeBron and Anthony Davis.
Yeah.
But he's also a guy that just, personality-wise, he fits the market.
Yeah, those are the two I would look at, though.
Yeah. And so that'll do it for this episode here. Let us know what your takes on the Lakers are in the comments below. If you like the video, give it a like, subscribe so you don't miss any of our other Build or Rebuild or off-season series videos uploaded almost every day. And that'll do it. We'll see you on the next episode. Peace.